Hey guys, Zach here. Hope you're having a great day. Today, in this interview, I feature Brandon Voss, who was kind enough to peel back the curtain on his entire real estate photography business, how he manages 4 or 5 employees, how he expands his market, how he automates his sales process, and ultimately how he creates an entity that churns out $50,000 a month in revenue for his real estate photography business. He's much more than a one-man show. He's got a large team, a large operation, and he was kind enough to share pricing, how he goes after new markets, how he manages his team, and how he got started. And it's a really inspiring story. So if you're in the photography space at all, if you take any kind of photos, I think you'll really appreciate this interview I did with Brandon. And of course, if you have a moment, we'd love for you guys to like, subscribe, and review this interview. If you like this format, let me know, and we'll keep doing it. Thank you so much. Zach Calhoun from CloudPano. This episode is brought to you by CloudPano.com. Create 360 virtual tours, white label them with your own URL, add floor plans, doll houses, upload to Google Street View. CloudPano.com is the #1 virtual tour platform. Get started today at CloudPano.com. Okay, well, let's get started. What's up, Brandon? Nice to meet you, bro. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you again. Or see you again.
What it is.
Welcome to the show. Yeah.
All
So,
right.
yeah. So what we do on these interviews, tell everybody, hey, just be honest, be helpful. I had a bunch of cool random questions I want to ask you about your business, and I do want to kind of start off with the story of how we met, because if you don't know who I am, my name is Zach Calhoun. I'm the founder of CloudPano. And Brandon is a user. And so he's on the platform. He paid me a couple of times about some stuff, and I realized he's close by. So we ended up going to meet up for coffee and talking about his business, what he's doing. I started to get really intrigued and super interested about his whole operation. It's like really, really impressive operation. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun to record a conversation and then let folks listen to it, and hopefully it's helpful. And I just told him, hey, let's just help people, help however we can, and just go from there. Does that sound good?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, cool. Let's start with some basics, bro. Tell me about you and your business and what you're doing.
All right. So my name is Brandon Voss, and I own Studio Voss here in Houston, Texas. And I started shooting photography, I guess, professionally back in like 1999. And and I use air quotes because I feel like at that time, I was getting paid. It was a job. So to me, that's professional at that point. Was I earning a living off of it? Meh. But fast forward to about 10 years ago, long story short, somebody asked me to take pictures of a house. I mean, I studied photography in school, and I said, how hard can it be? And so I had a 50 millimeter lens, which, for the photographers out there, they'll get it. That's a ridiculous lens to use for real estate. And I just took a whole bunch of pictures and stitched them all together in Photoshop to get a wide angle. And I did that like for every room of the house. And that's, I got started with one agent, and then that led to 3, and then that led to 10. And then before you know it, I had to hire more photographers and start using editors. And then here we are 10 years later, like we average about 200 properties a month.
Cool.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
Good. Cool. So as a fellow entrepreneur, just like you, when I hear somebody's moving 200 projects a month, my interest is like super peaked. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. So this guy is not just an individual contributor. He's not just taking photos and going as fast as he can. He's an operation. He's an operator. That's how I view you, by the way. In my head, I think of Brandon the operator.
Sure.
Okay. And I would say that's true. Like, you're an operator. You have a business that you operate. Would you agree?
I'll go with that.
Okay, cool. And I like that term because I feel like we all start off as individual contributor in some way. We're like doing something ourselves. We're like, as an entrepreneur, it's kind of like figure out how do I actually do this. And then once you get good and you figure out lead flow and you figure out fulfillment, then you start to hire people and kind of duplicate yourself. I think you've done a good job of that. So I do want to talk about that journey. I guess maybe what we'll do is we'll reverse engineer. We'll start from where you are. So how many people are on your team right now?
Let's see. One, two, three, four, five. Five photographers, a full-time assistant, and then of course the editors.
Yeah, so kind of six and a half, seven, maybe you want to say seven because there's people, who knows how many editors you work with?
Yeah, who knows? I
Who
mean,
knows?
they just have a
Okay.
slew of people running a
Yeah.
sweatshop over there.
Yeah. It's like $1 a photo or something or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, photographer wise, five other photographers. One of them is sort of like trying to retire, so he's only doing a handful a week. But everybody else is, they're making a living. So
Cool. Okay, cool. So let's talk about that. So how do you support five photographers? Obviously, you need a bunch of listings per month, right? And
right,
it's right now it's summer in Houston, Texas, right now. So we're close by to each other. So like I know, right now it's like it's probably going to pick up a lot more now too with the market shifting and changing. It's been such a crazy couple of years with COVID and
right.
inventory decreasing, and now it's going to increase, interest rates going up, and so but you've stayed real busy. So I want to hear like what's it take? So how many agents do you work with now to support or to get handed off 200 listings a month? Like how many agents is that?
So we have about 900 agents on our email list. So those are all people that we have worked with in the past.
Okay.
But like a real estate brokerage, that's once you get over a few hundred, it becomes kind of a revolving door.
Mhm.
And so we may have one or two people leave, and they'll come back, and then when I have a few leave, then I always have a few more that come. So but we have 900 on the list for those 200 properties a month. That's probably equates to like maybe, I would say, 75 agents or
Okay.
so each month. But it's not the same, people obviously each month.
Okay.
But the big hitters, those are people that are doing, like we have people that do sometimes, 5, 6 properties a month
Yeah.
on average. Like those are the people that hopefully they don't watch this, but I feel like they could hire a photographer at this point. Like they could just have somebody on
Yeah.
staff. Like when you when
'Cause
you
they have
get to
so
that
much. Yeah.
when you get to that point, it's like just hire somebody. But hey, I'm happy to do it. I've
Cool.
asked a couple about that actually, and their response was, that's the thing. Like they could hire somebody, but they would have to do all the editing. They wouldn't be able
Mhm.
to provide property websites and all this stuff. Like we just have more resources because
Yeah.
we're a larger operation, I guess.
Yeah, and that's a differentiator, right? So, I mean, I'm in the CloudPano world, right? So we see a lot of high end virtual tour stuff. We see like large universities come through because our providers are out there selling these big contracts. Well, with that,
Sure.
it takes a long sales cycle sometimes, right? Get the bid out, get the proposal done, negotiate some, get it done. Right now, they get scheduling. So I'm talking like a 3-month one-time deal, maybe different then obviously like the house, 200 of them a month, you're just like churning through them, right? So some folks don't like that model because they want to value their work much higher. But at the same time, like you can still value your work and have great packages. And like what you opened my eyes to whenever we met up and had coffee was that there's a lot of money to be made in this type of business model if you figure it out and make the numbers work. Um, so
I would
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just interject and say that I feel like it's you know, I have thought before, like, what if I did fewer houses, but only, raise my prices,
Hmm.
do luxury only type stuff.
Hmm.
We could charge a lot more, we would shoot a lot less. But the problem with that is, what happens if you have a slow month and a
Hmm.
couple people don't use you? Now you're only shooting, one job a month or two. when you're averaging, 200, and let's call it 120 when it's slow, like in the middle of
Mhm.
winter or something. um you know when that happens, and if and the numbers go down, there's still enough quantity there that we can keep paying the bills and keeping the lights on and stuff like that. I mean, it's not it's you're not going to take as big of a hit if a few people don't have listings that month.
Yeah, so you're weighing your risk, right? So what you're saying is like I have a less riskier business model by be more of a volume play. So
I agree with that.
yeah, I like that. That's cool. And that's just like what I'm always open to learning, bro. You teach me, show me your ways, man. I want to know about your operation, right? So like
Sure.
in every industry there's different types of plays or this consolidation. There's high volume, there's low volume. It's all different, right? If you're selling photography services to wedding venues, there's only so many of them, right?
Right.
Versus the housing market is moving all the time, moving, shaking all the time. Automotive, same thing. You got to be about volume. You got to shoot a car in 15 minutes. Otherwise, you're not going to make your margins, right? Because it's a volume game, and every provider figures that
Sure.
out. So you have to go compete in that world, right? So, um, I'm interested in this. Okay, so let's do some number stuff here. So in the hot time and going fast, 200 listings a month. You said about 75 active agents. There's a few that are your heavier hitters, right? Of course, like the 80/20
Sure.
principle. Like there's some people that are going to be giving you more work, of course, because they're better at marketing, better at acquiring the customers. I get that. That's probably true. What's the guys you give stuff to go away to and keep them happy, right? Of course. So then,
Right.
so what's it? So let's talk some numbers then. I mean, because we talked about this, briefly, and I want to hear about your packages. I know you're working on this all the time. How do I like change my packages up? But just at the current state, like what's worked for the past few years, like what's typical pricing per house, and then what are your like upsells or like higher tier packages, and then what do you pay your photographer, stuff like that, and editors. I want to hear some of those
Sure.
numbers. Thank you for listening to this episode. To get an automatic notification of our next podcast episode, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a positive review on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you enjoy your podcast listening. Thanks again for being here. I really appreciate you. Keep hustling, and I'll see you in the next episode.